Good afternoon, everybody. Big Mike back here with you once again. Welcome back to Big Mike Talks, where today I'm going to cover this week, the first half of this week in pro wrestling. So that's going to consist of WWE Monday Night Raw, NWA Power, and AEW Dynamite. Which, pretty darn exciting week. So we're going to strap in, get yourself your favorite beverage, and let's get on with this one. So we start off with Monday Night Raw, and we start off with the number one contender to the WWE Undisputed World Title at WrestleMania. Of course, it's the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. Pretty much starts off saying, at WrestleMania 40, I stand in the brightest spotlight. I stand opposed to Roman Reigns. However, I'm unable to talk about that because of one simple distraction. That's you, Mr. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Last week, Rock took to Instagram with a 21-minute long video, and I've seen that. That was a dang good Rock promo. Anyway, talked about my family, my dog, my shot. Rocky, don't you dare talk about my dog. And it's doing the biggest headlines. And once again, he did not accept my challenge, but he spun it, he changed the conversation, and as a master politician, we did have a conversation. He told me people didn't want Cody versus Roman at WrestleMania. People wanted Rock versus Roman. But then, you guys, with your voice, chanted something else. And then the "We Want Cody" chant happened. And that was powerful, man. That was great. He continues. And we all know that everyone backstage heard it, all the wrestlers heard it, even The Rock heard it. And he came up with a pretty dang good one-liner. He called you all Cody crybabies. Now The Rock presented a different challenge involving my friend, the current World Heavyweight Champion, Seth freaking Rollins. So that brings out Seth. And he starts off, Mr. Nightmare, what are you thinking? And then Cody goes on to say, you offered to have my back against the Bloodline. The plot has twisted and turned all around. I didn't think I'd be on WrestleMania, but it's my right as the Royal Rumble winner, and you're taking on Drew McIntyre. And what I'm going to say, that Rock and Roman together, they're dangerous, and I understand if you want to focus on Drew. And then Seth replies, I respect you giving me an out. I'll take care of Drew myself, but some things are bigger than us. Taking out the Bloodline is the biggest thing we can do. Roman and I were brought into WWE together, but now Roman wants all the power for himself. We are this close to having Roman having absolute power, and I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I'm over The Rock, and I agree. And then, out of nowhere, a Rocky sucks chant, which, 2024, I never thought that'd be possible. Like, even on SmackDown last week, there was a Die Rocky Die sign that Fox was trying to censor. That's insane. Seth continues, he hasn't been the People's Champ for a long time now. And I got a new name for The Rock. We're going to call him Diarrhea Dwayne. When I first heard that, I thought that was awful. But then I thought, he's making fun of The Rock here. He always calls, at least in his face run, he called people Rudy Tooty candy asses or whatever he said. He uses childish humor like that all the time. And this was Seth making fun of that. So I thought that was... It's still awful, but it's intentionally awful. Seth then continues. On Instagram for 21 minutes, he said he could make the world title go away. Dwayne, I'd like to see you try. You said you made pro wrestling cool again. Oh, our savior. Man, you haven't been cool in 20 years. Youch! Dang. You know what's cool? I can reveal this now. I am 100% cleared to compete. Yes, boy, it's about time, Seth. And this Friday on SmackDown, I'm going to be there to confront the Bloodline. Mr. Rhodes, will you have my back? And then Cody replies, I got a message for The Rock. Been a long time since you started. The People's Champ isn't in this town we're in. We're going to be standing to the Bloodline, and we're going to give you the face-to-face answers to what's happening at WrestleMania. Yes, we're finally getting that tag match, baby. I'm in for it. And don't forget, Cody Avengers, baby. You know more people are going to have his back. Let's finish that story, Cody. Besides the Diary of Dwayne, this was a really dang good promo. It did ramble on for a little bit, but maybe that was on purpose. I don't know. But overall, this was pretty darn good. Next up, a really good match. I kind of expected it to go way shorter. It's Gunther taking on Dominic Mysterio. And yeah, this was Dom's best match yet. Like, holy cow. He really took it to Gunther. He took all the chops, including Gunther opening up his, like, kind of shield vest or whatever that was he wears as a top and just chopping the stuffing out of him. Dom then eventually hits a 619, goes for the frog splash, but that misses. Big Gunther has one of the most amazing dropkicks ever, leads right into a big old powerbomb, finishing with a Boston Crab for the submission win. Dom is getting better. Like, you could say whatever you want about this guy. He's improving. Like, there's no doubt in my mind he's going to be good coming up. Next, we see the entirety of Damage Control coming in. So that's Dakota Kai, Io Sky, Asuka, and Kairi Sane. I think they need a new name. Like, without Bayley, I don't think they're really Damage Control anymore. Should call them something else. Then they run into Adam Pearce, pretty much asking, what are you guys doing here? Then Dakota answers, well, the women's tag team champions are here, and we do what we want when we want. And all we want to do is scout our competition. Yeah, you can trust us. And then, interrupting is Shinsuke Nakamura, who's asking about the Intercontinental title situation. And then Adam Pearce says he has an announcement coming later on for that. So that's pretty cool. We'll get to that in a few minutes. I'm really excited by that one. Then we got a Katana Chance and Caden Carter interview, pretty much saying, look, we're going to roll through our competition. We're not overlooking Baszler and Stark. But our goal is to take the tag team titles back at WrestleMania. We then go right into that next match, as it's Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark taking on Katana Chance and Kaden Carter, in which, I don't know, it was a fine match. Like, both sides did really well, but the crowd just wasn't into it. Like, I will give these two credit. This was definitely a really, really good matchup that ended after an after-party attempt that gets blocked after Zoe Stark knocks Chance off the top rope. Baszler with the roll-up for the victory. So, this brings in Dakota Kai of Damage Control, in which Damage Control was sitting at the commentary table. Dakota pretty much says, look, I'm here just to congratulate you on the match. And then after the champs defend their tag team titles on NXT, we're going to come back next week and you'll get your tag team title match. And we're going to send you crying just like we did Bayley. Baszler grabs the mic, pretty much says, about time, see you next week. In which, ooh, this is going to be interesting. Tag title match on Raw. Nothing new. Should be entertaining. Then we see Judgment Day checking on Dom, who is in the trainer's office. He's got a big old ice pack on him. They're talking about, getting things done later tonight. And then Finn and Priest are talking to one another. You got some idea for tonight? We'll get into that later. They fist bump. So, we'll get to that match again, too. That was actually a really good matchup. Speaking of a surprisingly good matchup, we got Becky Lynch taking on Nia Jax. And of course, early on, we get Nia Jax overpowering Becky. Becky eventually fights back. Tries for the manhandle slam, but Nia counters it. Then Becky hits a big old Hurricane Rana. Couple of times, Becky goes for the disarmor, but then that gets blocked. Nia goes for the Annihilator, that misses. Becky goes for a disarmor, but Nia pows out. Becky goes for an armbar. They're in the ropes. Then Becky throws Nia into the barricade. Then on top of the barricade is Liv Morgan, who attacks Nia for the DQ win for her. And then in the ring, Becky and Liv have a face-off. So, I guess we're getting that little match coming soon. That should be a fun one. Then we get Ricochet backstage. He's with Adam Pearce in his office. With Ricochet saying, look, I've done everything I can do. I got a plan for the Intercontinental title. Then JD McDonough interrupts. Saying, look, why are you trying to take JD's title shot? Put me in the ring with Gunther, and I'll take that title back. Then we see Liv Morgan. She's walking backstage. Then she runs into Becky Lynch. Pretty much with Liv saying, look, all I did is what you did to me last week. Well, with me, you didn't come back. Becky retorts, look, we can sit around back here talking about it, or we can fight about it. Liv replies, love to. See you next week. She walks off. Then walking right behind Becky is Rhea Ripley. She looks down at Becky and just laughs and walks off. Oh, that's going to be interesting, man. That's going to be an interesting little dent in the story. And we get Jey Uso. He's warming up backstage. We then go into the Adam Pearce announcement. Talks of Gunther and his Intercontinental title reign. He then says he has found 6 men to challenge Gunther. So next week will be a gauntlet match featuring Ricochet, JD McDonough, Shinsuke Nakamura, Sami Zayn, Bronson Reed, and God, who was the last guy? I'm sorry, I forget who the last guy is. And they will face each other in a gauntlet match next week, with the winner of the match facing Gunther at WrestleMania. Yes, please. Oh, Chad Gable. That's who it is. So, yeah, those guys are going to face each other in a gauntlet match. If it were my pick, I think I'd pick Sami Zayn, because this whole finding his way to WrestleMania is good. But I am liking what Chad Gable is bringing to the table. Like, his story is a bit more personal. So, I'm kind of on the fence. I would go Sami. Next up, we got the Raw return of Andrade. He previously worked for WWE. I think a little bit through the pandemic, and then he was in AEW a little bit afterwards. Taking on a returning Apollo Crews, who I haven't seen Crews in a hot minute. Like, where has he been? And, yeah, this was, overall kind of a quick squash match, which is a shame, because I like Apollo Crews. With Andrade winning with the La Sombra. So, yeah, Andrade gets his first TV win. I was kind of hoping he would be built up for the next challenger for the Intercontinental title, which figured that'd be a nice little spot for him, but we'll see what happens. Next up, we got a Sami Zayn backstage interview, pretty much saying, I've been thinking about my journey. At many points, my confidence has been shaken. I talked all along about this time about being a champion, and the gauntlet match is my way in. This is it. This is my path to WrestleMania. And the most important match in my... Before he could finish, Ivar comes in, pretty much says, time to put an end to these delusions. I know I can beat Gunther, but you know that I know you can't. And Sami retorts, I know I can beat you. And then Ivar replies, prove it tonight. And we're going to get that match a little bit later tonight. Then we go see Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae in the back. They're talking about the next time they get a tag title shot. Then we cut a little bit across the locker room to Tegan Nox and Natalya talking, with Natalya saying, look, we need to reload, reply, and go for the tag titles. With Tegan Nox saying, didn't you try to eliminate me from the Rumble? And then Natty replies, you pretty much did it first. And then we also slide to Ivy Nile and Maxine Dupri, who just walked in the locker room. They're giving LeRae and Indy Hartwell a compliment, with Candice saying, like, speak for yourself. You can even lace up my boots. Get the heck out of my face. So, it does seem like they're setting up another showcase match, which maybe getting a little bit more of a story behind the women's tag division. So, yeah, we'll see. This next match, oh boy, was it great. As you got Finn Balor and Damian Priest of Judgment Day taking on Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci of Imperium in tag team action. And oh boy, was this match super good. And at one point you hear Judgment Day chants from the crowd. So about midway through, Judgment Day start working Babyface, which is not something I really think I'd ever hear. One point, Finn Balor hits the Sling Blade, the Dropkick, and the Coup de Grace. 1, 2. Priest with the South of Heaven to pick up the win, which is very, very nice. We'll see about if Judgment Day turn babyface soon. So we'll see. We then get the Hall of Fame induction announcement for Paul Heyman. Very deserved. And considering it's in Philadelphia, it's definitely more fitting because Heyman ran his promotion ECW in the 90s back then. So, very fitting. We then cut to a Drew McIntyre interview. Calls Seth Rollins a junkie, a spotlight junkie, which, true. You always have to be a part of the hottest thing. When Punk came back, you were there. When Cody came back, you were first in line. And I just want you to focus on our match at WrestleMania. And the title deserves better than you. All I wanted was an apology. I just wanted to speak to you. And there's no chance I'm losing to you. So, definitely a very fired up Drew McIntyre. So, yeah. We then see Damage Control walking backstage. And Rhea Ripley kind of side-eyes Io Sky. And Rhea pretty much tells Io, stay out of my territory. Which, them's fighting words. We'll see if we see Io versus Rhea at any time. At any point. That would be a great match. Speaking of a great match, we then have Sami Zayn taking on Ivar, in which we finally got Valhalla wearing her, horn headpiece. Then she goes over to the announce table, takes it off, puts it on Michael Cole's head, in which, you freaking Mark. Now, can we end that story, please? That's not very entertaining. This was a tale of two stories, with Ivar dominating early on. Sami Zayn then trying for a comeback. Ultimately gets countered out. Ivar blocking a haluva kick. That was impressive. And, it looked like Ivar was finally going to put away Sami Zayn. Misses with a Doomsault. Stop. In which Sami Zayn, all set up for a haluva kick, hits it for the 1, 2, 3. So your winner, Sami Zayn. However, post-match, we have Bronson Reed in. He attacks Sami Zayn and hits a big old tsunami on the man. Oh, that gauntlet match is going to be so good this next week. I can't wait. Then we get a Gunther interview backstage. saying that Dom tonight stepped up, but the outcome was never in question. This division is absolutely stacked, as it should be. I have elevated this title to great new heights, and I'm ready for whoever's trying to challenge me. And at WrestleMania, they will be competing to see who gets humbled and outclassed by me. Then in comes Chad Gable, who says, I cannot look back past what you did to me. This is my path to redemption. At WrestleMania, I'm not just taking your title. I'm going to take that smile from you and putting it back on my daughter's face. Yes. This is why I'm torn. As much as I would like to see Sami Zayn get something in terms of a story for WrestleMania, Chad Gable is right here, and I'm in for both either. Like, oh man, it's gonna be interesting. So then we get a Jey Uso promo. He's backstage, kind of alone. Calls out Drew McIntyre. Okay. Enough already. Calls out Drew, saying, all you've been doing is cry and complain since you lost the world title match. I'm sorry for what I'm about to do tonight, but Jay, don't play. Then we see DIY and R-Truth playing 2K24, and The Miz comes in saying, look, I got your ideas for how we can get back at Judgment Day, and I hate them. We need to hit them where it hurts and take their tag team titles. Now, I'm going to say this. I wasn't really for the Awesome Truth reunion. However, I do see the reactions they're both getting, and they're ultimately positive. Having them win the tag titles at WrestleMania, I think would be a nice little moment. Giving R-Truth his first win at WrestleMania, which is kind of insane to think about. So, yeah. I'd be down. We now move to our main event of the evening, as we got Drew McIntyre taking on Jey Uso. And it starts off white hot with Drew McIntyre kind of dominating Jey for a little bit. Jey fights back after a big old cross body. Tries for the Uso splash. He gets caught right into a spinebuster for the 2 count. Jey Uso with a volley of super kicks and a Samoan drop, only for 2. And as Drew and Jey Uso are fighting, Solo enters from the crowd at ringside. Future Shock DDT for a 2 count. Then as Solo's trying to get into the ring, out comes Cody Rhodes, who fights him off. Jey Uso counters a Claymore kick into a couple of super kicks, a spear, goes up for the Uso splash, but Jimmy Uso appears ringside. Jey is, a little bit in shock, turns around, Claymore kick for the 1, 2, 3, and your winner, Drew McIntyre, with Jimmy picking up a chair. Drew McIntyre's up the ramp, and as Jimmy was about to hit his brother with the chair, in comes Seth Rollins, making the save with his own chair, runs off Jimmy, runs past Drew. Drew gets back in the ring and hits a Claymore on Seth Rollins. And while there was some shenanigans in this match, it does make sense that we are getting a little Bloodline crossover into Raw. Especially if we're going to get Jimmy versus Jay. And I have no idea what Solo's going to be doing for WrestleMania. I guess we'll see. Overall, a very entertaining night of Raw. And we'll see where we are next week. So next up, we got NWA Power. We start off with a hype video for the upcoming TV title match between Max the Impaler and Mims. But we start our first match off with the Junior Heavyweight title as Yabo the Clown of the Brothers of Funstruction taking on champion Kobe Carino. And then we start off with some shenanigans with the Clown, including a couple of tie shots. And it just appears he's just spitting up popcorn, which is interesting. Yabo hits an Eat Defeat, which is one of my favorite moves. But then Kobe starts building himself up a little bit into a cutter, only for a 2 count. Hangs Yabo in the Tree of Woe, misses on the stomp. Yabo with a very impressive drop kick. Then they kind of go to the outside. And Kobe is looking up at the stage, climbs it. And then Yabo is trying to spray Kobe up top with his flower gimmick. Kobe with a big old dive to ringside. They go back in. And then Yabo has these juggling balls in which he tries to throw them at Kobe. That misses. Super kick, clothesline, DDT. Your winner, Kobe Carino. So, nice little fun opening match. Definitely a good mix of like sports entertainment stuff and pro wrestling. I enjoyed it. Then we get a promo from Pretty Empowered, the former women's tag team champions, saying, King Bees, we know how you feel. We've been championed a bunch of times. But you guys don't have the leverage we do. So at hard times, you're going to put those titles up in a 2 out of 3 falls match for the titles. And if you guys win, one of you two gets a shot at the Burke, the World Women's Champion, which is honestly a pretty good stipulation. Speaking of tag team champions, we now have the World Tag Team Champions, Blunt Force Trauma, taking on the Miserably Faithful. That's Gags the Gimp and Salvation in non-title match. And before the bell even rings, BFT jumps Miserably Faithful. Bell rings, and, Carnage and Damage definitely dominate Gags for a little bit. Gags tries to fight back. Eventually, there is a little miscommunication between the champs. And that brings in Sal, who's white hot right off the bat. It's a Rana right into the 619, which it's always good to see that. Or it's pretty much the Tiger Feint kick. It's the 619. This brings Gags back in. He tries for the sliced bread. That gets blocked. Met with a backbreaker. And then BFT with a flatliner senton leg drop finish to pick up the win. So, nice little matchup between kind of an uneven pairing, but I think it worked. So next up, we got like a mass interview between EC3 and the Southern Six. So we start the interview with EC3, saying his match with Matt Cardona took a toll, but it's all worth it to be the champion. And to be the man, you gotta be the overman. Cardona was a worthy challenger, and I had to suffer to be who I am, become who I wanted to be. Then that leads into the Southern Six interview, where it's mostly just the Thrillbilly saying, look, I can tell just by looking at you that you got problems. You're all beat up. The wheels are coming off. And you won't survive the ride, the thrill ride. It doesn't matter who's next for me for my next national title defense. They are going down. If they face me, they won't survive. And we're having fun out there. And then Alex Taylor and Kerry Morton pretty much shout Blunt Force Trauma. So maybe they're getting a title shot next. So, yeah, we'll see. And then we get a backstage Vampiro promo, which was a little weird, saying, all my actions have been all me. I've been done with it all. I'm abandoned once again. What's good with power if you can't do anything with it? And do you accept my deal? I'm not 100% sure who he's talking about, but maybe he has some new clients coming in. Then we get a dual interview between Anthony Andrews and Joe Kazana, who is the father of AJ and KZ. With Anthony Andrews saying, look, I needed my family when we lost the U.S. tag titles, and you guys were all gone. AJ wasted our second title opportunity with KC. And then Joe replied, listen here, you gigantic waste of space. You're the biggest, most worthless piece of trash ever. And KC next week is coming to take out the trash. So, a little bit of a rambling promo from Joe, but point taken. So, we'll see how that goes next week. And we go right into our main event for Power, and it's for the NWA TV title, in which Max the Impaler has both the men's and the women's television titles. So, what they are going to do, considering they're non-binary, when they are challenged by the men, like Mims tonight, they'll put up the men's television title, and then when they are challenged by women, they'll put up the women's title, which definitely an interesting concept. We'll see what goes from there. Starts off a little hot for Max the Impaler. Mims with a very impressive cannonball. Max tries for a Vader bomb, but that misses. With Mims suplexing Max only for a 2 count. Max with a spear for a 2. Eventually, Mims hits a big strong slam for only a 2 count. Because the time limit has been reached. Every TV title match has a 6:05 time limit. So, yeah. So, still your TV champion, Max the Impaler. Mims then goes after James Mitchell, who's sitting ringside. Max then takes out Mims. Then incoming for the save is Dak Draper, who helps fight off the rest of the Miserably Faithful to check on his partner. So then next we get a James Mitchell interview. He's flanked by his crew. Saying, Mims, you obviously don't know how to follow the rules. The time limit was reached. You don't get 5 more minutes. And you also hit like a girl. And Mims, you did a cardinal sin. You put your hands on me. And your punishment is condemned to hell on earth of your own design. So definitely some fighting words from James Mitchell. It does look like we'll be seeing Magnum Muscle taking on the Miserably Faithful for a while, which might not be a bad idea. So that was NWA Power. It felt a little rushed, but I also felt like it was very entertaining. If that, makes any kind of sense. So we leave the realms of NWA Power. We now go to AEW Dynamite, in which we start off in Swerve's house. That's a Swerve Strickland interview, saying of the chants of his from the crowd that I don't deserve that. What's a Swerve's house without keys? At Revolution, I couldn't get the job done. Joe did. It's been 2 years to the day since I signed with AEW. And I told you I was going to give it my all since day one. And I'm going to be AEW champion. And I ended up failing. And maybe it's a bit of karma for what I've done to so many people in AEW. And some doubt has been going through my head. And maybe it's time to accept my role as a role player. But something felt different Sunday. It felt like people were actually rooting for me. And they really wanted me to win. I won't let you down. Nothing changes from this point on. Joe, I'm coming for you. And I will beat you for that promise. And that I promise you. This brings out our AEW World Champion, Samoa Joe. Pretty much saying, look, for a man who I beat the other day, you sure are talking funny. I'm going to give you a reality check. Your house exists in my world, and I'm out here to let them gaze upon a real world champion. Swerve then replies, you're talking real spicy for someone you didn't beat. So how about this? Tonight, we put this on the line, and we do this right now. Before the bell can ring, out comes the Undisputed Kingdom, with Adam Cole leading the way. The only story around the AEW World title is us. Roderick Strong is the new international champ. Taven and Bennett is the greatest ROH tag champs in history. And the only reason you're champ, Joe, is because we let you. And Swerve, there's no way in hell we're letting you win that world title. Wardlow is, and he's going to bring it home to its rightful place in the kingdom. Swerve, then with a great retort, says, hey, Cole, how many times have you failed to win the AEW World title and still gotten shots afterwards? I'm glad you're enjoying your new role as manager here. So how about this? Me and Joe versus Taven and Bennett next week. Cole then says, look. No, actually, it's Cole who announces that match for next week. And Swerve is, no, we're all here, we're all dressed. Let's do this here tonight. Cole replies, you don't make the rules here, we do. And then we get a message from Tony Khan from Tony Schiavone. pretty much announcing, yeah, this match is going down right here, right now, tonight. So we roll right into that first match as it's Swerve Strickland teaming with Samoa Joe, taking on the Undisputed Kingdom members, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett. And this was a pretty darn good matchup. Everyone got their good stuff in. Swerve hitting the house call and the JML driver to pick up the win for his team. Post-match, Wardlow comes back out. He rips up his shirt, Hulk Hogan style. Swerve is kind of jawing with him. And then Joe from behind, a cantina clutch to Swerve. And then we get the graphic next week for Big Business. For the AEW title, we're getting Samoa Joe versus Wardlow. That's going to be a good dang match. We then get an interview by Hook, but before he can get started, of course Chris Jericho is in. Saying, look, my first match as Lionheart was against your dad Taz, which, yeah, I remember that. That's crazy. So, I have a connection to your family. When you first started, I had no respect for you until you dumped me on my head in the scramble match. Maybe you are the real deal. And they shake hands. So, a Hook-Jericho alliance. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. Because Hook has been doing fine by himself. Then this next thing, we have the Young Bucks. They're getting ready to make their announcement. And they're kind of talking in the cadence of Tony Khan when he makes an announcement, which is honestly hilarious. So, they say, we're going to have 2 huge announcements, and we're going to make them live in the ring later tonight. So, that's going to be an interesting one. Just wait for that one. Next up, we got our first title match, and it's for the FTW title, as Hook takes on Brian Cage. And this, honestly, was a whole lot of fun. They brought in all the plunder for this match. They brought in chairs. They had a fire extinguisher spot. Trash cans. Hook tried for a crossbody, but got hit by a power slam. Cage was going to do something on the outside to Hook. Either it was a spear or it was something else, but Hook moved, breaking through the barricade, which definitely see that a little too often. Brian Cage goes for an F5 that gets countered into a DDT into the chair laying on the ground. And then, of course, they bring out the thumbtacks, in which Hook suplexes Cage into the tacks, goes for the red rum, but then Cage backdrops him into the tacks, which is just crazy. But then Hook's still holding on to Brian Cage in the red rum in the tacks, in which Brian Cage taps out. So your winner, still FTW champion, it's Hook. We then get Bishop Khan and Toa Leona, that's Brian Cage's tag partners, in the embassy, Mogul Embassy. And then Chris Jericho is out with his baseball bat to make the save. We then get a little extended hype video for the upcoming tag team title tournament, in which Sting and Darby Allin vacated them. Although we'll get to that in 2 seconds. We then get the Best Friends in. Best Friends backstage interview, in which they reveal they're going to be in the tournament. However, Chuck Taylor is not medically cleared, but saying Cassidy and Trent should enter in their stead, in which it does look like they're in. I'm almost certain Trent is going to turn on Orange Cassidy. Next match, it's a bit of an extended squash match as Killswitch, the former Luchasaurus, takes on Matt Menard. And before the during the start of the match, Menard gets in some strikes, bites Killswitch's finger, which that cannot be interesting. Killswitch goes for the choke slam. Matt Menard spits in Killswitch's face. And then Killswitch hits a double extinction to pick up the win. Killswitch then starts beating down Matt Menard after the match. Daniel Garcia makes the save. Nick Wayne comes in to even the odds. Eventually hits a Wayne's World on Daniel Garcia. Then as the Patriarchy are walking up the ramp, celebrating, out comes Adam Copeland, formerly known as Edge, and attacks Killswitch with a chair. Gets a nice little crossface on Nick Wayne. Mono Wayne goes for a low blow on Adam Copeland, but that gets blocked, thank goodness. And then we see Christian Cage bolted out of the arena and steals a car. Like, pretty much just steals a big-ass SUV. We then got an Adam Copeland promo. Pretty much says, look, this has to end where it started. Toronto for the TNT title and an I Quit match. So that's a couple weeks away. We'll see if Copeland can do it. We then get an interview from the recently returned Kyle O'Reilly. Super glad he's back. Pretty much saying, I hate admitting this, but I didn't think I'd wrestle again. I got my second chance, and I'm just grateful to be here. I got nothing but love for the kingdom, but I fell so far off the mountain, and I just want to do it on my own. So, yeah, definitely going to be interesting to see what happens with Mr. Kyle O'Reilly. And, yeah, maybe keep him separate from the Undisputed Kingdom for a little bit. We then get the big Young Bucks promo, where they pretty much saying, look, the only reason Sting won is because you guys cheated, but there's something you can't take from us. We ended Sting's career. There's obviously a big tag team title tournament coming up, and we're ready to getting those titles back. Now we got our first announcement, and this one was really tough. We're in favor of no biases, so Hangman Page, you cross the line, and we have to suspend you from the Elite. Which is interesting phrasing, because they didn't say from AEW. Next part of this first announcement is Kenny Omega. You did nothing but disappear. You didn't make your dates for no good reason, so you're fired from the Elite. So, if you don't know, Kenny Omega has been out with diverticulitis, which is very, very serious. He has been getting treated for a while. And again, the terminology, fired from the Elite. So that means Kenny's still with AEW. And they apologize for you finding this out on TV. And then that brings out a very interesting character. It's Eddie Kingston. And he says, yeah, I'm out here wearing sweatpants and Timbs. In which, and You told me if I talk crap about you again, you'll find me. Well, reaches in his pocket, throws a wad of money at the Young Bucks. Go ahead. I'm not going to talk like a gentleman. And just like that, the brawl is on. Low blow, super kick. And right before they could hit the EVP trigger, the coin flips. And Okada comes out. He's all dressed to the nines. He gets in the ring. They face off with the Young Bucks. And just as Eddie Kingston is about to go in for a strike, Okada grabs Eddie Kingston. It's a big old rainmaker on him. And then the Young Bucks get back on the mic. And now, welcome the newest member of the Elite, Kazuchika Okada. A heel Okada in AEW. That's honestly really insane. I can't wait to see what they do with this. Because this is definitely going to be interesting. We then have this holy banger of a match as it's Chris Statlander taking on Riho. And this was definitely a great little matchup, with the end coming with, Chris Statlander unable to put Riho away. Then Stokely Hathaway gets a chain, slides it in the ring, distracts the ref. And Statlander's like, She's conflicted. She eventually throws the chain to the outside of the ring. Then Riho with a roll-up to pick up the victory. Definitely going to be very, very interesting to see where Riho goes from here. We then go backstage to a Toni Storm interview, in which at first it's Mariah May dressed up like old school Toni Storm, in which they did that at Revolution. But then the real Toni Storm pops up from behind her, says, "Ha! Fooled you again. Deonna, there was no chance at winning the title at Revolution. But now, what season is it? It's award season. And this Saturday on Collision is the first annual Tony Awards. Tony with an I, just to not be confused." And then Toni Storm presents to Mariah May her first t-shirt, in which it's repurposed Toni Storm shirt when she was in her old gimmick. So, that's going to be interesting. We then go to a Stokely Hathaway Willow Nightingale interview, with Stokely saying, look, she did things her way. She needs to learn to accept help from others. It is then announced Willow Nightingale is going to face Sky Blue this week on Collision, either Collision or Rampage, with Willow saying, yeah, that's good. Okay, and Stokely, we're going to do things my way. I can beat Riho. I'm feeling pretty good. And I have my sights set on that TBS title. But I got to go through Riho first. So, nice fired up Willow Nightingale. We then get a Darby Allin in-ring interview. Who says, look, it's crazy to think about this. 5 years ago, I was just some homeless guy. But Sunday, I was in the main event of AEW's very best pay-per-view. I'm beat up. I'm tired. Next week, I'm going to be facing Jay White. And then after that, I'm going to be climbing Mount Everest. And there's no guarantee I'm coming back. Darby, don't say shit like that. You're going to come back. You crazy boy. Then says, I want to thank everybody for this dream. And if this is my last match going my last match ever. I'm going to be going out fighting. And there's no... And while people are saying, well, why don't you pick another partner to defend the tag titles with? There's no replacing Sting. He then lays the tag team title down on the mat. And the next team that wins this, congratulations. Then this brings out Bullet Club Gold. And especially Jay White. Jay White then says, look, I didn't want to come out at first, but you're such a loser, weird guy. I had to come out here, congratulate you on Revolution. You showed the world that you'd sacrifice yourself for Sting. You're ready to risk it all, which honestly, it's stupid. You crashed through that glass on your own, and Sting fought 2-on-1 for a while, but ho-ha, Sting pulled it off and won. And I hear you talking about it. Between you and me, I don't care. You're all alone. What is Darby without Sting? He is a lost little puppy. And this match next week does not need to happen. Nobody would think less of you. If you do this, there's worse things that can happen than just scratches. So I invite you to come in the back with us and join the Bang Bang Scissor Gang. Darby then replies, are you done? I went all over and joined AEW and did what? And the match is on, and if you had any guts, you would come alone. And Jay White replies, see you at Big Business. So, yeah, that match is definitely on. That should be a dang good matchup. And Darby, please be careful on Mount Everest, man. We need you here. Then we get a Julia Hart promo saying, you've forgotten who I am. So on Friday, I'm issuing an open house challenge to remind everyone who I am. This then leads to a House of Black promo with Julia Hart saying, we're going to fight fire with fire, set you ablaze. On Collision, history repeats itself, and the pain we inflict on you, it depends whether we're going to dig one grave or 3. So then that leads to a Mark Briscoe interview saying, look, you got the wrong guy. I fear no evil. I'll take you on alone if I have to. But then Jay Lethal comes in. Pretty much says, look, I'm going to be a man. I'm going to step up. And we're going to do this together. Then Mark's like, alright, I can do that. But we're not having Jeff Jarrett in. Jay Lethal then replies, look, we're obviously going to war here. You don't have to trust him. But you do have to trust me. And they shake hands. So that trios match is on. And then, oh boy, our main event of the evening is it's Kyle Fletcher taking on Will Ospreay, making his AEW Dynamite debut in what was the most beautiful match I've ever seen. Words cannot describe how good this match was. I'm going to say this, go see it yourself. It's going to be awesome. With Will Ospreay gaining the win after an OsCutter and a hidden blade. Post-match, Ospreay and Fletcher have a little embrace. And as Fletcher's leaving, a familiar song plays. As it's Bryan Danielson. We're getting Ospreay versus Danielson in AEW. Yes, please. Alright, that is it for this episode today. I hope you guys all enjoyed. Please like the video. Comment down below what your favorite match or moment was from this week. So, little interesting update. I'm not going to be covering SmackDown and Rampage this week because it is TNA Sacrifice. It is going to be for YouTube insiders at 8 o'clock later tonight. So that means Monday will be a Sacrifice review. Tuesday, I'm going to review TNA Impact and AEW Collision, which honestly should be a couple fun shows. And yeah, that will be that. Now, until next time, happy wrestling, everybody. Peace.